Hey Paula, how are you? Hello, hello. Welcome to my first ever live podcast. Hey Jill. Hey David, how are you? Jill Carter. Hello. And who we have here? Okay. Okay, so you're gonna see a few of my titles that I have here. Hey David. So here's some of my collection of paperbacks. And we got, this is my Elvis library. And magazines and everything that I collected over a lifetime. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some of these LPs that I have. I got some of the background music happening, just so it's, yeah. So we're going to start off with a few of my LPs here. Hey Melinda, how are you? Hello. So coming to you live from my guy cave or living room. Hey David, Jill. So as you see, is right behind me is, believe it or not, I still have some VHS tapes. And here's some of my Elvis collection. So there's some of the titles, and I've been collecting this since I was about 9 or 10 years old, and these are all Elvis magazines, books. Hey Lorraine. So I'm gonna show some of my favorite LPs and some rare LPs that I've got. You used to love vinyl. Why don't you anymore? Because vinyl is really, it's really good. So first I'm going to show you will be an original LP from that was the second movie, Loving You. And this one, and it really doesn't have Loving You. It's Elvis's actually first album, Elvis Presley. So I don't know why it has the Loving You picture on the cover, since it's not a Loving You LP. But this one is pretty rare. It's actually is a recording original from 1956, RCA. So this is a pretty rare LP. can see. And this is really weird because it's a actual Loving You LP. But on the back somebody made a mistake and they actually printed a the wrong soundtrack, or so that's an actual 1956 Loving You LP, but on the back it's the same titles from Elvis's first album, Elvis Presley, Blue Suede Shoes, I'm Counting on You, and all those. So and the second one is Blue Christmas. This one is from the Pure Gold series and was already bought. This was made while Elvis was still alive, 1976. So this is the King Creole. Yeah, you can still buy some ones, new ones as well. LP players. Hey Maria Ross, how are you? And this is King Creole. And this one is a Canadian pressing, and I'm not sure what year it came out. Probably 1970s. No, it's actually original in 1958. So it's totally mint. Yeah, I like that, Melinda. Okay. Yeah, a lot of these, and I do have a record, an LP player actually. So I can't actually be playing any Elvis music online because it's gonna get censored by Facebook. So and here I got the GI Blues, and this is a also an original. We should never got rid of them, right? And this one, when was this one made? It's also a Canadian pressing because I lived in Canada. That's where I'm originally from. And I'm coming to you live from Bratislava, Slovakia. And this is also an original. This is another beautiful LP, His Hand in Mine. Yeah, G.I. Blue is also one of my favorite movies, and it's got a lot of really nice songs in there. So this is His Hand in Mine, also from the Pure Gold series. Yeah, they are, and it's thanks to my dad because it's usually his. This goes back to the original, to the 1970s. This one is a 1975. Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, I'm trying to keep the memory alive, not just singing the songs, but also, yeah, this has really beautiful gospel songs on it. And this is the 1975 original, pressed in Canada. And many of these are, as you can see, they have the original RCA pressing. Not sure if you can see it right, but these are only some, which are some of my favorites. This is actually a favorite of mine, Blue Hawaii, and this is also, you can tell that it was very well cared for, all of these LPs, and this is an original, also RCA, and I'm not sure what year this came out, so yeah. And some of these have been played over the years because we have a record player, and this was way before. Another one is it happened at the World's Fair. Yeah. And this is also a first pressing, 1963, when the record first came out. Because in those days, Elvis always made 3 movies a year. They were released spring, summer, and winter. And usually the LP also came out. And this is also from another one of my favorite Elvis movies, Fun in Acapulco. And this one is kind of coming apart because it's been played a lot. So this one is also made in Canada. And many of these are very rare because they were first issue pressings. And this one, when Elvis passed, they came with these picture sleeves of all his LPs that were released over the years on RCA. So these were from the original 1950s through the 1970s, like Madison Square Garden. Hey, Angel Reed, how are you? Thank you for joining me. So your player plays records, CDs, cassettes. That's great. And this is another fun movie. People usually trash it for some reason, and I find that it's for the times, the 1960s. It was fine. And this is also printed in Canada, and I'm not sure what year it came out, but it has the bonus songs, Animal Instinct and Wisdom of the Ages. So hope I'm not boring you guys. And okay, so if you have any questions that you'd like to ask me, feel free to ask, because this is my first ever podcast on my group, and I'm trying to get to know all of you, and just to make sure that our friendships can develop deeper, and to know that I'm not just an ETA and tribute artist, that I also I'm a first and foremost a Elvis Presley fan, and I always was. Thank you, Lorraine and Jill. Not bored at all. That's great. Is the picture and sound coming through okay? That's great. Yeah, and it's been a little bit about me. I was born last 3 days of 1968, December 27th, just around when Elvis's his comeback special was aired. And I did most of my growing up around southern Ontario. I was born in a small town called Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. So, and I got to love Elvis through my grandmother, and she was. My parents originate from Europe, from Slovakia, and they immigrated to Canada in 1968. Hey Patsy, how are you? They immigrated in 1968 after the Soviet Union invaded Czechoslovakia, which was then Czechoslovakia. And actually, I was born in Canada, and in Saskatchewan. I grew up around southern Ontario near Toronto. That's where my younger sister was born. She was born in Toronto, and I did spent my childhood in the 70s there in southern Ontario. So, and actually, when the day Elvis died, we were living in a city called Kingston, Ontario. And I remember that afternoon there was a terrible lightning and thunderstorm. And actually, it was really bad. It was lightning, hailing, everything. And I remember my younger sister, I was visiting, living with my grandmother, and my younger sister I was visiting there. She was living with my grandma on my dad's side. And the thunderstorm came in the afternoon. That was August 16th. And I remember my dad, he's a psychologist, and he was on traveling near Niagara Falls. He had to pull into a motel, and he had to, and he called my grandmother, his mom, and he said, turn on the TV, breaking news, Elvis just died. And I remember my grandma, she hardly ever cried, and she broke down and cried. It was actually her birthday, August 16th, which was a very bad birthday present for her. And with Elvis passing, I remember right after the storm blew through, I looked out the window. I was only 8 years old at the time, and I was looking outside, and I saw all these young people. They were hugging each other, they were crying. I saw other people there, adults, and they were hugging each other on the street. They were crying out loud, and they said, and it just really got me at that time to know that somebody had such an impact on the world. And I remember with my grandma, I was watching Elvis's final tour in 1977, and it was really upsetting to see him in that condition. Of course, I didn't understand it at the time, but that's where I started having my love for Elvis. And this is actually this was the first ever. I'll switch it around. This was the first pocket book that I bought for my grandmother because she loved Elvis, and this was something fell out. What would you believe? An Elvis stamp. Huh. 29 cents USA, first pressing. That is worth something, that's for sure. So this is original stamp, and here's actually another one that fell out, so these are probably worth a pretty penny now. But I won't be selling any of this. I actually thought of selling the whole collection a couple of years back, and this one, yes, as you can see, it's a really small book, and I bought this for my grandmother when Elvis died. It just came out just a couple of days actually after he died. It's a Dell pocket book, came in 1977, and then I got this one, also Adele. Um, cost a little over $1 at the time, 1970s. And this one was also, these are very nice, and they're practically mint because they're first edition, 1977, right when he passed. You were 7, Angel, so we're in roughly the same age group. Hey, Anthony Joseph, how are you? Sending you a big wave in Ontario. I was just talking about Ontario, where I grew up. So it's basically my whole collection started with this tiny book that I bought my grandma, and she gave it to me. She said, "No, you hang on to it," and just started to collect it. So I started collecting magazines and then LPs. So here's another LP, Frankie and Johnny soundtrack, and this one came out RCA Records, pressed in Ontario, and I don't have a date, so this is probably still around the time Elvis was alive. And some of these records have been played only once or twice, and this is another one, Paradise Hawaiian Style. So this one came out, also doesn't have a date. It has the bonus song, Sandcastles, a really nice one, song that I will be singing. So this one, and all these records have been very well taken care of. I mean, they don't skip, nothing like that. They're purely mint. Yes, Melinda, you're old enough. And there's also another, this is the Spin Out soundtrack. Old and Wise, yeah. So this one, a lot of care has been taken into some of the designing some of these backs for the LPs, and so this one came in 1977, so this was released right after Elvis passed. So this one is showing some wear and tear around the edges, but it's still in pretty good shape, I think. Here we have another one. This is How Great Thou Art, one of my all-time favorite Elvis gospel albums. So this one, How Great Thou Art, yeah. So if you want to ask me any questions about who I am, where I'm from, what even got me to sing, I'll do a question and answer, so you can just post any questions that you have there and I'll just answer them for you. And this LP was made, doesn't really have a date, but I think it was also a 1960s pressing. And this is the Clambake soundtrack album as well. Yeah, Lorraine, I'd love to come to the UK. I'm actually in negotiations with some people there who might be my my manager. I approached several people, and I was basically waiting for the go-ahead, so the pandemic ends, so I'll be able to travel, because right now I cannot leave Slovakia. And this one's also 1977, so some of these were bought right after Elvis died, and so my dad bought it. And this is also from Hawaii via satellite. This is the 2-record set that came out. I'll just show you. It has this sleeve. This is where people said, "We love Elvis" in different languages. So this is also worth a lot. You'll camp out to get tickets. Okay, well, first I have to have some shows booked. And I'd love to come to the UK. I'm already booked for Australia in January to go to the Elvis Festival there. And I'm probably going to Canada, where I'm from, to Vancouver. So this here is Miliam Elvisa, that's in Czech. And Kocham Elvisa, that's Polish. The Elsker Elvis, that's Scandinavian. So this is really really wonderful. It's a 2 LP set, and you're 60, okay. Yeah, Angel, you're in Ohio, right? Yeah. And I have I'm negotiating with one lady there to get me to Las Vegas, and she wants to find out which hotels are opening up and all of that. So, and this is the Promised Land LP, which came out. This was 1975, so this is still was pressed when Elvis was alive. So this one has "It's Midnight." If you talk in your sleep, thinking about you. You asked me to help me, Mr. Songman. These are beautiful songs that I would like to cover. I'd like to record the whole album. And this has the orange label, so this is quite rare as well. This was pressed in the United States. And this is practically my pride and joy. This is a Moody Blue album, which was pressed. It's number 49,804 from, I believe, 50,000 limited copies. And what is special about this album is, I'll show you, it's translucent vinyl, which was pressed in 1974, and it's a clear see-through blue vinyl, which was Moody Blue. I've never played this record. I'm only keeping it for collector purposes, and this is beautiful. Yeah, I will be going into a recording studio possibly in June. So I'll be recording my first CD. Yeah, I'll show it to you again. It's clear see-through blue. So you can see my fingers through it. And yeah, it's a beautiful LP I cherish very much. And it's a limited edition of only 50,000 pressed copies when it came out in 1970. It came in 1974-77, and this was Elvis's last album. And this is Come On Everybody, which was by the Camden Pickwick. Yeah, I'm sure she would. And this is also pretty rare. And when was this one made? Doesn't say. So it says it's got interesting songs in there. Come on everybody. Angel, Whistling Tune, Follow That Dream, I'm Not the Marrying Kind, King of the Whole Wide World. So it's got a lot of the songs there from Follow That Dream soundtrack. And I'm discussing things with Patricia Quinn Cleat. She'll be handling my merchandising, and some of my items will come on my site that you'll be able to purchase on my site right here, which will include t-shirts, mugs, CDs when I record them, and all different goodies. Not just Elvis that I collect, because I'm a big fan of Johnny Cash, Frank Sinatra, Neil Diamond. And as you've noticed on my site, I've also started to put different documentaries, videos, things like that. I don't want the whole site to be just about me, and I want to share some of my my idols and people that I like, and that's what I'll be doing on there. So yeah. So in case you're wondering why I've only have backing tracks in the background for music, is that if I would normally play an Elvis record, then Facebook would cancel it or censor it or something. This way I can just play backing tracks and just do it this way. So back to the LPs. There's a fun one which came out. It says Elvis sings for children and grown-ups too. And what's fun about this record is that it's a gated twofold, which has the lyrics to the songs. Let Me Be Your Teddy Bear, Wooden Heart, Five Sleepy Heads, Old MacDonald, Angel, Puppet on a String, and side B, Old Ship, How Would You Like to Be, Big Boots, Cotton Candy Land. So this was done in a theme for children, so it has some of these songs there, some favorite ones. And I know Angel loves Angel. And Cotton Candy Land, I just did that in my Elvis A to Z. Yeah, what I'll do, Lorraine, is I'll send you the whole show after I'm finished, and you'll be able to watch it. Yeah, there was one, Come On Everybody, with a black suit and a white suit, and it was actually started calling the suit. That there was also the I Got Lucky LP, which I don't have, and it had a white jumpsuit on there that actually became known as the I Got Lucky suit. And this is also a favorite album of mine. It has a beautiful drawing. It's called Elvis Presley Inspirations. And this was made by K-Tel Records. Whoever remembers K-Tel remembers the good old 70s. And this one was made in 1981, so this was after Elvis passed, and it's got Crying in the Chapel, It Is No Secret, Thing Called Love, Bosom of Abraham, Evening Prayer, Amazing Grace, How Great Thou Art, Lead Me, Guide Me, He Touched Me, Padre, I Believe in the Man in the Sky, Peace in the Valley, Known Only to Him. So it's a beautiful, all the best of his gospel albums. I love to sing the gospel songs. I mean, those are even the ones that Elvis himself loved to sing. And how appropriate, I got Peace in the Valley playing in the background. Yeah, Lorraine, you're absolutely a wonderful person. I don't know why they're doing it to you. There's also another rare LP that I bought quite a few years ago. This was made in Italy. and I'll show you. It's got a book, and it's written all in Italian, so it is pretty rare. And it's got some of the songs that are very popular in Italy for Elvis. And here's a list. Is now we're never stuck on you, fame and fortune, I gotta know, surrender, I feel so bad, are I lonesome tonight, Marie's the name, his latest flame, little sister, good luck charm, anything that's part of you and she's not you. So really beautiful ballads that I'll be covering shortly. And Maria Ross, how are you? Sending a big hug to you too. Stephanie Vanko, how are you? Glad you're joining me on my first ever podcast here on my site, and one of many. And so this is beautiful LP, and now we're getting into some really interesting ones. This is Elvis, a Legendary Performer, Volume 1, and these were made by RCA in limited editions. This one was made in 1973, as you can see. So Elvis was still alive when this was released, and it's got some rare tracks, of course, that are not rare anymore, but at the time they were. So they got the one up on some of the bootleggers. So it had some of the first live editions, and this one also came with a beautiful beautiful book here, Legendary Performer, the early years. It's got the calendar for 1974. So as you can see here, so this way I get to know you a little bit better. This way you get to know me. You can ask me anything. That's another nice song, Ask Me. And this came with the album. And it was Keeping Up with Elvis, and this is all his tour dates, 1970. As you can see, they're all sold out. 1972, this was his tour for Elvis on Tour. Madison Square Garden, 3 shows sold out. And going into 1973, everything sold out. Just amazing. And there's showroom appearances in Las Vegas from 1970 to 73, also sold out. And this was the ad for the 1973 satellite show. So this is I'm glad you're finding this very interesting, because it's and it came out like this, that you could actually remove it from the sleeve that way. And here it just showed what's on the LP and what was recorded from. Like this was Peace in the Valley, recorded for the Gospel EP in 1957. My Lonesome Tonight. And I'll be resuming the Elvis A to Z next Saturday at the same time, 5 o'clock UK time. And here we have a Legendary Performer. This was volume 2 that came out. Unfortunately, I don't have his original autograph. I have replicas of his autographs in some books, but not something that was actually signed by him. It's also very rare. It's a original newspaper that came out when Elvis died, and it's a very very fragile state. As you can see, the date is August 17, 1977, so it came out the day A Lonely Life Ends on Elvis Presley Boulevard. So this was original Memphis paper, and here's some photos from the funeral, and the whole newspaper was dedicated to Elvis, but it's actually falling apart, so I don't want to be doing further damage to it. That's why I have it in the foil. And some of you have been asking which microphone do I use. So I use a Shure SM58, which is the standard for all professional singers, and hopefully it has the best sound. So I want to be doing the best shows for you all. And here we have Elvis Legendary Performer, Volume 2. And here is this was also made 1976, so Elvis was still alive when this came out. It had the first unreleased Sun Master of Harbor Lights interview in Wichita Falls, Texas. A lot of this, so really amazing, and really love some of these LPs. Of course, you can find them now on different the Follow That Dream labels and all that, but this was way before Follow That Dream ever existed. So I'll show you some. This also had the Legendary Performer early years continued. So you sure, yeah, you sell them. Nice. I have this one here, which is a replica, Pro Sound, 1950s style. Really heavy in the hand, but the sound is really not, it has too much echo for my taste. And I use different music. This is also another mic I use, a Sonic, but it's a little loose and it's rattling around and sometimes gets some feedback. I use that for more vintage sounds. This microphone I used before, Thompson, but it has to be fixed. It stopped working in the middle of my show. One time I was doing Summer Wind by Frank Sinatra, and it just conked out on me and never came back, so I'll have to get that done. And here I'm using, I don't like to use cordless mics because they do a lot of feedback, and I like to have the one with the cord that I can use. I used this one in my first ever live show, and it just had so much rattling around that it wasn't funny. So you will see these are some of the cards that came out in the 1960s. So yeah, rattles like bones. Elvis International Favorites. So there you have all around the world where the LPs came out. Here's where you raised $50,000 for the Arizona Memorial. I did the show on the exact date, 6 years ago to the day, and it's on my YouTube site. So you'll see some of these. And these are some of the cards that came out, replicas. These just they came out in the 1950s. And this doesn't have a special LP, but It's also in very nice condition, no scratches, nothing. So these were all taken care of with a lot of love. And this is another of my most prized possessions. I have Elvis Volume 3, A Legendary Performer, and this one came out already came out in after Elvis passed, I believe, 1978. There you have the date. RCA Records, New York, and it had its first ever it had some original songs like Hound Dog, but it was the first time that Danny was released for King Creole, but was never included in the movie. And in case you don't know, I'm a big Elvis trivia buff. So if you have any questions on Elvis's life, and you have the Elvis Monopoly game, well, that's fantastic, because that is pretty rare. I have a Graceland pop-up book. So this is actually also a picture disc. I'm gonna, as you can see, and it's this other side, really beautiful. And this one also has a booklet that came with it. Legendary Performer, Yesterdays. So these are so I'm using those. I'm really glad that I can be sharing this with you all around the world, and also have this up on my site. And these are different this was from Fun in Acapulco. They made these suitcases with the label. So this is a labor of love. I collected this throughout my whole life, and as I said, I'm first and foremost a Elvis fan, then an ETA. And the funny thing is, for the longest time I didn't really like ETAs at all. I never went to an ETA show, and I only started singing and performing in my mid-20s to late 20s, around the 1990s or so. And I started getting into winning karaoke contests, and one of my first songs that I ever sang in karaoke was New York, New York, and Moody Blue. And Moody Blue is a very tough song to sing by any choice. So I got into that, and the bug bit me, and I never looked back. So it's a yeah, so we got another 10 minutes or so to go in the first hour. And this here is also another of the Elvis Legendary Performer series. All albums, Moody Blue, Spin Out, etc. Yeah, they've all been reissued many times over. Hey Jim Presley, how are you? Saying hi. Yeah, they've been, RCA has always been milking the cow, and they've been reissuing album after album for the longest time. And this is the volume 4, as you can see. When it rains, it really pours. They had the first interview there from the Tampa concert. Mona Lisa, Wooden Heart, Plantation Rock. That was the first time that was released anywhere. And this one also had a, it wasn't a picture disc, it was just basically a regular LP. And this one also came out with another album. And you can always check out different garage sales and online bazaars. I've gotten a few LPs and books that way. Sometimes someone in the family passes away and the family doesn't care for it, so they put it for sale, or they just leave it out somewhere. And there's actually some clothes from the movies that was used. Thank you, Lorraine. I'm really glad I could help you. So, show a few more items here. It's just a greeting card that I really like because of the picture. Always on my mind, thinking of you. So it was by American Greetings. So and this was Elvis, Artist of the Century. Beautiful, also fold out. It says, you and a guest are cordially invited to celebrate Elvis Artist of the Century at the Elvis Presley Fan Club President's Luncheon. Special tribute to J.D. Sumner. This was in 1999. And for those that don't know, I in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s, for about 4 or 5 years, I used to run the Vancouver chapter of the official Elvis fan club. I was the president, and I dealt with EP in Graceland, and it was called To Elvis with Love. And I named the fan club after this book, To Elvis with Love by Lena Canada. Touching story. And this was a real story. I was a girl apparently in she was very sick. I believe she was somewhere in the Netherlands, and Elvis was her pen pal for several years until she passed away. And it's very heartwarming. I recommend that you go out and get it or find it. It's a beautiful book. And this is also a very rare item, which is a souvenir menu. Not a menu, it's a special concert edition. It's been very well worn. And I absolutely love the photographs in this. So it's a Carol deal. So I'll just show it this way. It's got some really nice concert pictures that RCA took. So these are, yeah, really like some of these pictures, and they're done. So it's almost like in poster size on some of his really nice jumpsuits. Yes, there was a movie that they made. It was called To Elvis with Love. I think you can find it on YouTube. And it apparently is a true story. Elvis started communicating with her when he used to send her records and posters and that, and he kept her alive for many years. Unfortunately, she passed away. And here's a suit I wore yesterday, not the exact suit, but replica with the gold belt. So those are so yeah, I really enjoyed my time with you, signing this, and here's a newspaper, or a this is a in the Czech Republic, and here's a picture of me where I was doing a live show, Zpívám Marektastic, which means singing, and this was for a film festival in the Czech Republic, where they really loved my singing, and they invited me back several years in a row to do these shows. And so that's the conclusion of the first part. For some reason it doesn't want to come back. Okay, here we are. So I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and if you have any other questions you'd like to ask me, just ask away. Thank you very much, David. I really enjoyed it, and next time I'll share a bit more memorabilia, more magazines, books. I love sharing it with you all. So this way it's not just me singing live, and you get to know a little bit about me, what makes me tick. Yeah, it'll be next Sunday, same time, 5 o'clock, I believe, UK time, so 12 noon Eastern. Yeah, so this will be on my site again, and yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg on some of the stuff I have, and I'd love to share it with you. And the next time I'll show you some of my cassette collection, and as well as I have a whole box of, believe it or not, I have some original first issue 8-track tapes. Because as a small boy, when I had my own bedroom, I had a stereo there, and I had 8-track tapes. And 8-track tapes, I had the Aloha concert and some other, and Elvis Gold records. I had headphones, and I used to listen to it all the time, and I guess that's where the seed was sown. And that's where where it got under my skin, and I started thinking about doing these, maybe singing one day. And I was very shy in my teenage years. I had a very bad case of acne growing up, and my high school years were hell, put it that way. So I didn't really, I was a very shy, stayed away from people. I was a very introverted person until I discovered my voice, and I just started, and I discovered karaoke, and that really helped. So David, thank you for joining in. Thank everybody that came to the show. I love you lots. I'll see you next time, next Sunday, 5 o'clock, and I'll also be sharing some of my father's artwork with you. And he's a fantastic artist, and he has some original drawings that he did in the 1950s that he drew as a 20-year-old guy living in Slovakia. And he drew Elvis, Paul Anka, Pat Boone, Frank Sinatra, a whole bunch of them. And this is where I got my love for these people, through my parents, my father and my grandmother. So she loved it. So thank you again, and I'll see you next Sunday. Love you lots. God bless you. Adios.